Today we're going to start with a very simple dish, chicken rice. It'll use only one pot, so that's always very convenient. We're going to put in 2 tablespoons of adobo. Here's the first one. Here's the second tablespoon. Adobo, I'm using La Cena, but you can use Goya or the one of your choice. Now we're just going to sprinkle some garlic powder on it. Normally I prefer real garlic, but today just garlic powder. Now we're just adding half of a powdered chicken bouillon. And that's pretty much it for the powdered spices. What I have here is my own green sofrito, which I made with herbs and spices. It does include real garlic and real onions and other herbs and spices, other herbs which were natural, and I'll show you those at another time. So what I'd like to do is add one of this spoonful, and it doesn't seem enough, so we're gonna add a little more, and that's pretty much it for the cubed chicken here. We're just going to spray a little bit of lime juice on it. We're going to add a little bit of the extra virgin olive oil. Remember, that is good cholesterol, the HDL. Think of it as happy, so it's good for your body. Not too much because it's got calories, but just enough that's good for the heart. And here I'm adding a little bit of the olive oil. It should be enough. And we're going to stir this all together. So now we have this all nicely stirred. I cranked up the heat to high. We're just going to brown the chicken a little, and then we're going to add a little bit of the cooking wine. Normally I cook it with regular white wine, but we're going to do a little bit of cooking wine today. At this point you can hear the sizzle, and you can really smell all the aromas, especially from my own homemade sofrito. It's starting to brown, so what I'm going to do before I add the little bit of wine to it, I'm going to hit it with onions. See, they're cubed. You know, they're more or less rough. So we're just going to put those on them. Any onion, you could use the yellow onions, the white onions. Even though red onions are better for when eaten raw, I still put them in there sometimes. Gives it a nice sweet flavor. Okay, so now we've been cooking it on high heat, covered. But you can see it more or less looks boiling. I apologize for the fogginess on it. We're going to just add some of this cooking wine on it. Not too much because we want it to just evaporate and leave some of the flavor on it. We're going to come back, and the next step is going to be adding the rice to it. Before we add the rice though, I just want to point something else out. You see how it's covered with liquid? What we want is to reduce that liquid down as much as possible. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cover it back up, keep it on high heat, and let it boil for a little while. Once it's boiled, I'm going to stir it, then lower the heat so the chicken gets nice and soft. And once the chicken is soft, we add the rice to it. So after about 15-20 minutes covered at low heat, the chicken has softened. Not too much because we still got to add the rice to it. I uncovered it, and now we are boiling it at full heat. We're just going to let those liquids evaporate a little more, and then I'll show you how to add the rice. Okay, so now I have rice that's already been washed a couple times. Make sure we get all that muddy water out. We're just going to add it to the boiling pot, just like that. So what we have is 3 chicken breasts and 2 cups of white rice. We're adding this to the pot. We're going to stir it. Just like this. So now we're stirring it. If you notice, the color's a little bit pale. It's not quite yellowish, it's not quite red. It actually looks a little green. That's okay, the color's going to change. Once we add the water, I'm going to show you how the color of it changes. So here we added the rice. We're just going to let it kind of fry a little bit with the wine and the olive oil on it and the chicken. We're going to cover it, and in another pot we're going to start readying the 2 cups of water, because we added 2 cups of white rice. We're going to add exactly 2 cups of water to it. Okay, so as you can see, the rice is fried a little bit. I like using these Teflon pots because they don't stick on the bottom, so it's easier, you know, you don't get as much burn rice or anything. So now you see the rice is a little brown. That's okay, it's not gonna matter. So I put my 2 cups of water in here, and I'm just gonna add it. Rice is already fried, so you see. Now we're gonna stir it. The chicken is in there, the rice is in there. Now again, if you want to add some peas to it later on, you could do that. Some carrots, I don't know, sometimes instead of just the chicken and the rice, I add a couple cut Spanish chorizos. I cut the outside of them and cut them up and put them in there. That gives it a nice little extra quick burst of flavor. Today though, we want to keep it simple. 1 pot, just chicken and rice. I showed you the couple powdered spices. I showed you my sofrito, which I made homemade. I showed you the lime juice, and I showed you the little bit of cooking wine, or if you prefer, it's actually better, a little bit of white wine to it. So while that is coming to a boil, I'm gonna add a little bit of this is bijol. It's just a simple food coloring, but it's natural. There you go. Now we're gonna stir it, and you see how this is bringing out a better color on it. Now I don't like it when the rice comes out so reddish because it looks, I don't know, it just looks weird. So I just wanted a little bit of, you know, color to it, a little bit of yellow hint to it, maybe a little orange. And normally when you add other ingredients to it, it gets another color. So for now, we're just leaving it like this. Now we're gonna let it come to a boil, and once it comes to a boil, I'm going to stir it one more time, then lower the heat, and then let it simmer for about 20 to 30 minutes, depending on the heat. And I'll come back and we'll show you when it's finished. Okay, so now the rice and chicken are boiling. Like I said, I'm going to stir it up. See, it's already starting to stick on the bottom. That's okay because I'm using a non-stick pan. So it's been stirred. I'm going to cover it up a little. We're going to lower the heat between medium and low. More on the low side than on the medium. There you go. And actually more on the low, very low. Not too low, but very low. So there we go. Then we're going to let it sit for about 20 to 30 minutes, and I'll come back once it's done. You must keep it covered and try not to uncover it because it changes the texture on it and it won't cook as quickly. Okay, so now as you can see, it's been cooking. It's almost ready. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stir it once, like this, so that we bring the rice on the bottom, we bring it back up. Again, like I said before, I find it helpful to use the Teflon or the non-stick, you know, of your choice, you know, a pan that's non-stick. This way, when you turn the rice, you're not going to find it burned. Pretty much done. It depends on how you like it. I like mine a little bit more dry, so I'm going to try it just to make sure how much more time it needs. Just a little bit. The rice is ready to go, but as I said, we're going to let it cook a little longer just to make sure it dries. And you know what? If the rice sits there for a little while, it's going to get a nice texture. It's going to dry up, and it's but not too much. And it's going to get all those flavors. So this is not the type of rice that you want to eat right away. Let it sit for about an hour, maybe 2, even 3 hours, and it'll be fine. It'll actually taste better. And once it's cooled, you can also choose to keep it in the fridge until the next day, and that's even better. Just drizzle it with a little olive oil over it, and then microwave it, and or even, you know, put it back in a pot like this, and it'll taste great. So a few minutes, it should be the way I like it. You can already eat it. It's already done. but I prefer it to be a little more firm, a little drier. Okay, so now it's done, just the way I like it. I gave it about another 7 minutes, let it dry. You're gonna find these little spots. I find that adds flavor, so I leave them in there, or you can just take them out. Even though it looks like I'm being very careful when I turn it. I don't want my chicken to break. It got very soft, so it's got a nice color. You can see the chicken in it. It's nice and soft. See it? The flavor is even better. The smell is just, I mean, it's awesome. Here you go. Oops, there it is. So anyway, that's a easy one pot recipe. Like I said, you could have had some peas. You could have added little carrots. Whatever you want to it. I find that adding Spanish chorizos to it makes it even better. It not only does it give it more flavor, it gives it better color and the whole thing. So here you go. I'm gonna try it. Delicious. Next time, we'll try something else.